Hello and welcome to Radiant by J Naturals. Today we are going to make this dishwashing liquid detergent that is not like your regular DIY. We are going to be making use of a formula so that you can scale up or scale down as you want. I'm going to put this formula in the description box, so please make sure you check it out. And I'm also going to show you how to change from the formula in percentages to the formula in grams. So let's get right into the video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I post such videos. The first thing we are using is water, and we are going to measure out our water, which is a solvent, and it is going to carry every other thing we are using in this formula. Now we are going to measure out the other ingredients in the water phase. Now I want to tell you a secret about using water in your formulations. Do ensure that you use very clean water. If possible, get distilled or deionized water. The reason why your soap goes bad mostly is because of the water. If you are using water that is straight from the tap or from the well, it could contain some mineral ions which bind with the surfactants you are using and will not allow them to perform well. It would make your soap to go bad easily. We are going to be adding some citric acid to keep the pH of this formula at a skin-friendly level. We don't want a formula that has a very high pH because it may affect the skin. The next thing we are going to add is our sorbitol. Now feel free to use glycerin if that is what you have. Both of them are humectants. I prefer to use sorbitol because it also adds some thickness to the formula. Now this is my secret ingredient, right? Ethanol. I just add a little bit of ethanol to give the liquid soap that grease cutting power, especially if you are going to be using this for plates. Now I'm using my preservative and I'm using Germall Liquid Plus. Now Germall Liquid Plus is expensive. The next video I'm going to post, I'm going to show you a more affordable alternative. So I put all this together and I add it to the water phase, right? I mix the ethanol. The ethanol also helps to dissolve the citric acid and other things very easily. So I just added some of the water I reduced earlier to the bowl just to rinse out everything because I need to use this beaker again. So I use my spatula and give that a very good mix, and then I set it aside so that everything dissolves properly. If you want to make this soap and any other formulation, you do need to be patient, okay? Now we are on the surfactant phase. The surfactant phase is where we add everything bubbly, all the soapy stuff, right? So our first soapy stuff is Texapon. That is SLES. We are using it at 15%. Is our primary surfactant. Next thing we are going to add is our Cocamidopropyl betaine. Now please note that cocoa betaine is not the same thing as Cocamidopropyl betaine. They are two different things. CAPB, as I'll be referring to it for the rest of this video, is lighter than the cocoa betaine. So the next surfactant we're adding is our CDEA. Now this CDEA acts as a foam booster. It also acts as a solubilizer for our fragrance, right? If you add this fragrance oil to water, it's just going to sit on top of the water. It's not going to mix because oil and water don't mix. Now the function of CDEA is to mix this oil and water together. Yes, Texapon gel also does that, but then this is a more advanced one, and it also adds to foaming properties. It also adds to the thickness of our solution. So you can see how the fragrance oil mixed right into it. If I added it directly to the water, it will just form droplets on top of the water, but using a solubilizer mixes everything together. There are other solubilizers you can try, like capryl glucoside and others. Stay tuned to this channel because we are going to be trying a lot of solubilizers in other formulations. Now this is our water phase, and you can see that everything has melted. Our citric acid is no longer visible in particles there. So I'm adding the CDEA plus fragrance oil mixture it becomes cloudy, but don't worry, this is going to become very clear as you have seen at the beginning of the video. So we add this together and we give it a good mix. We give it a good stir to incorporate it, and you can see that this water has started becoming thick. If you notice, it is not very watery. So now we need to add our sodium hydroxide to Texapon gel. Some people add salt to it, but I don't like using too much salt in my formulation. So instead of using salt, I use sodium hydroxide lye as a pH buffer. By the time it comes in contact with the Texapon gel, it breaks it down. Now, if I were to have an overhead stirrer or other complicated equipment, I may not need this step at all. But since we are home users and we are just doing DIYs, this is a method that you can use. Yes, it will bring up the pH, but because we have already used citric acid, the pH will not come up so much. And even if it does, we can always use citric acid to balance our pH out. So this is me adding the Texapon gel mixture. You know, it's Texapon gel plus Cocamidopropyl betaine together. So I mix it into the water phase, and I gave that a good stir. In fact, I did not capture that, but I had to use my hand blender to blend this together. If you have the energy, you can actually use you know, pour it into a very large container and really use all your energy to mix it, but it's easier to just use a mixer. Just remember that you need to use it at the lowest. You don't use it at the highest. So now we are adding our salt, which is acting as our thickener. If you notice, I did not add the thickener at the beginning of this formula because I am not using a gum. Now, I love using gums to thicken, gums like nitrosol and xanthan gum and other things, but I don't like using them in cleaning products because when you add them to water, because they are cellulose gums, they tend to make it look like it's sticky. So when I'm making cleaning products, I prefer to thicken with salt. However, thickening with salt can be very tricky. You need to be very careful and you need to follow the precise measurements. If you add too much salt to this solution, it is going to become watery, and then you will need to get something else to thicken it. So please add your salt carefully and follow the instructions in the description box. Now I'm just adding in my coloring. Some people dissolve their coloring before adding it. Well, I don't really find it necessary. I just add it. So I added the green. I mistakenly added too much of it and I didn't want it to look so dark. So I just lightened it up a bit with some yellow dye. So I'm adding dye to this because I'm using it for washing plates or cleaning around the house. I'm not using it for clothes. The ones I use for clothes, I use very minimal dye, and sometimes I don't even use any dye at all. So our formula is coming together and you can see that it is becoming thicker. It is becoming more viscous, right? We just use salt to thicken this and very little salt. I will put the quantity of salt I used in the description box. This is going to get thicker as the time goes on. I'm going to leave it till the next day to show you how it came out. So if there's any other thing you think we should do, apart from the fact that I'm going to make a multi-purpose liquid soap and I'm going to upload it to this channel on the 30th of November, if there are any other things you would like to see, please drop in the comments and I will definitely take note of that. So you can see our formula has become thick, it has become beautiful. Now we want to perform a lather test. So I have this 20 milliliter container and I'm just going to add my soap into it and add some of the soap into water. So initially I added just about 5 milliliters of the soap to see how it goes. Now this is 2 liters of water, right? And I've added like 5 milliliters of the soap. You can see how our soap gets into the water and it dissolves easily, unlike the ones thickened with nitrosol. So can you see the lather from just 5 milliliters of the soap? You can actually wash plates that are not so oily just with this. But I'm just going to add a little more. I wanted to do a 2 liter to 10 milliliter lather test. So I'm going to add it so that it becomes up to 10 milliliters, and we'll see the lather in this baby. Yeah, so that's exactly 10 milliliters, and you can see the ladder. This has grease cutting properties, but it is not drying on the skin at all. You really do need to try this formula. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.